Welcome to Spurs Version TV, right? Guys, I've got to. Oh, hold on. Let me do something first. Yep. All right. Welcome to Spurs Version TV, right? You can hear all the echoes coming in. Yep. All the echoes are all coming in. All right, guys. I want to say good evening, good morning, good afternoon to all you guys around the world. Hope you're all doing well.
Good
Right.
evening.
Yeah. And of course, I have to put this up first. This is one of the messages I will say. Right, of course, happy Dipavali. In Malaysia, it's called Dipavali. Around the world, it's called Diwali. Wishing all the people, I think it's an Hindu festival, right? This festival lights for the Hindus, right? Wishing all you guys happy Dipavali in Malaysia. And hope you're having a good holidays with your families and all that. For all those who are celebrating. For all those who are not celebrating, in Malaysia, it's a public holiday tomorrow. So a lot of people will be taking their leave on Friday. So it turned up to be a long weekend. Hope all will be well for all you guys and have good fun with your family and all that. And of course, Mani will be hopping on later. We'll say wishes to him too, right? Guys, I know it's a bit of drab and a bore. Spurs is at it again. What did we do? We go to a team, right? That's not won in the league in 8 games, and was it 9 games? Eight games or
Something
nine
like
games?
that. Yeah, something
Yeah,
like
eight or
that.
9 games, and then Doctor Tottenham comes around and gives them an injection that cures their winless streak. Uh, okay, I'll go into this game first. Right, I watched it and I was screaming at the screen again. Why do we keep giving the ball away? Why do we keep giving the ball away? Right, and to tell the truth, we were toothless. We had no creativity, no intensity. Somehow or other, we just didn't turn up for that match. Right, that's how I see it. We didn't turn up for that match. So it is what it is. It's a away game, and now I've come to a conclusion: is that right? Ange is more astute when he's playing at home because he's facing up with the home fans, and if he doesn't win at home and he does something stupid, right? The fans all turn on him in the stadium itself. But away, I don't think he cares much, right? So, and the performance that's all coming out, it's I don't know, expected it to tell you the truth because our summer transfer window was actually shite, right? So that's all I'm gonna say. Was there any good things from that Palace games that you could see of
No,
Elias?
no. I think the Palace game was quite a disappointing one for me. The primary reasons being is that I struggle to see basically any form of positives for it. The passing was bad. The attacking line was just not doing its job. The midfielders were out of control. The defense was all over the place. Defense looked a
Yeah.
lot relaxed, and
Elias, you should say what defense, Elias?
yeah. I mean, our defense is just defense because they are defenders who play in a very attacking system. But then you have attackers who can't attack properly. There's just no consistency. Like if I were to describe the game, Palace got their tactics very right. They put on all their men behind the ball. That's why you could see that every pass that we were making, it was being blocked. If I'm not mistaken, Palace had a lot more chances than actually what we had.
Oh
Yet
yeah,
they failed to score. Even if you look at the quality of chances, we had 14 shots on target. We had 11. They had 14. We only had 3 shots on target, and even those 3 shots, none of them were quality shots that you can say that we could have scored from any of those
yeah.
opportunities. I
Big up to Ryan, Huddersfield Town fan,
Yeah, big
TV.
up Ryan.
Ryan, if you want to join us, I'll put the link in the chats. Have I got your WhatsApp? I'm not even sure. I'll put the link in the chats, and if you want to join us, I'll send it out to you. All right, you can hop on and just cook us some more. Right, cook us some more. Now the worst part is, right, I was seeing we were playing out from the back without the capability of playing out from the back. You guys, and the goal came from us losing the ball, playing out from the back. And
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
yeah, and
I was in a chat actually, and I think I was talking to Stella earlier as well. I said that the way the if you look at our defenders, the amount of time they take to release the ball, it's a lot. If you're taking that much time on the ball, you are gonna get punished. You look at Vicario, he takes too long. You look at Romero, even he takes long. You look at VDV, he is faster than the two, but even then he takes long. The passing from the back needs to be very quick. That's when you can release your attackers. But I don't know why. What are we doing there? Like it seems like, I guess, passing from the back, they've been told to pass to relaxed or what? Like I don't get it.
And the worst part is, right, we had 7 minutes at a time in the end of the game, right? And we just sauntered out from the back line. You guys, we were
Yep.
there was no urgency, right? That is it's like we were up 3 or 4-0 and we were just playing around, relax, What the hell? My God, we were down 1-0, and Palace,
Yep.
I would say, what else can we say? Oh, and then it all comes to this time. Whenever we lose, right? It comes. I don't understand. Why can't we lose with valor? You get what I'm saying now? We lose like limp dips. You know what I'm saying now? Right? We lose in a way that's so shameful that we don't show that we put a fight into that game, and that we lost. That's the worst part. That makes me so. I don't know. So the section, of course, that there's a big section of the fan base is Ange out, his tactics are, blah blah blah, and then there's another section is to blame the players. The players were this and the players were not that. But it comes down to the end of the day, right? I think it still has to fall on the manager, right? Because from day one, when Ange came in, he already said he's taken full responsibility. Right? We know that. I know that. I know he's going to take full responsibility because he's already said it. He will die on that hill. Right? And we've been making memes out of it that he will die on that highline hill. Right? And of course, at this moment in time, the major part of fan base says trust the process, give him time, right? And then there's, of course, like me and you, we see the flaws and we see the what called the weaknesses and all that, and we see our transfer window wasn't any help at all. So in this moment in time, as I see this going on, how long will he be able to sustain this type of form and performances? You can see, we are in this conundrum now where managers who have achieved less than him, right? Or actually, sorry, managers have achieved more than him have really gotten the sack, right? But for us, right, we are still there. But of course, while this is happening, and I've always been saying, right, Ange is a deflection and distraction for Levy, right? And he's been brought in, right, to bring in the good vibes, right, for the fans to all suck it up, right? While there's something going on in the background, right? While our great chairman must be planning something, whatever is either property based and blah blah blah, but it's never about the football because our transfer window showed it in summer, and the sad part is I feel so frustrated is because in the end of last season I was in some shows and some chats and all that, and all I could hear is people saying, give Ange, give this summer transfer window a big chance. Ange's got a plan, he knows what he's doing. And the next thing he does is that we resign Timo Werner. That was the big red flag there, right? Then, of course, after that, there was the Eze talk, the Tony talk, right? The Neto talk. But who did we get in the end, right? It was Solanke, Archie Gray, and Bergwall was already coming back because we signed him in January, right? And of course, when things doesn't look too well, then everything's all hyped up. We got generational youngsters coming in, right? Solanke scored 19 goals last season. To tell the truth, right? We must always understand this, right? Yes. Oh, Peter. Yeah, 2 a.m. in Melbourne now. Hope you're doing well, right? Get some rest, Peter, right? And the thing is, when we become in this kind of situation, right? Being frustrated long enough, we know. But do you actually see, or do we actually, will the fan base actually see that we have a future out there, right? A positive future. And if in the end of this season, if Ange does win us a cup, right, he would have most probably lifted a lot of the fans up, right? That's what we are looking for, right? The cup. I don't care whether it's Carabao, whether it's the FA, whether it's the Europa, right? Because of course the league we will never go for the league, right? And the things has been said and done, right, and being portrayed, right, it's so divisive and confusing, right? So that's why I do tell the truth, guys. I'm not Ange in, I'm not Ange out, I'm Ange don't care, because I know where the main problem lies, right? It lies way at the top, right? So like I said before, Ange has been brought in to be a deflection and a distraction, right? While Levy is doing something in the background. He could be conniving something in the background, right? And while at the same time, guys, don't forget, Amanda's coming in, right? There's going to be an injection of 500 million pounds
Has
and
it been
all.
confirmed?
Nah,
It's all rumors for
I
now,
don't
though.
believe it. I don't believe it's going to happen, to tell the truth, right? Because all I know is that Amanda doesn't have any money, right? So she's
That's what
been
I heard.
sued. Yeah, she's been sued left, right, and center. Big up, Manny. How you doing? Happy Diwali, Manny.
Thank you, sir. Wish you the same, and yes, wish you the same as well. Happy Diwali.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in Malaysia we celebrate everything, so it doesn't
And
matter.
if you Hindu friends, obviously in Malaysia, Singapore, anywhere else in the Far East, whoever
And around the world, and around the world,
is a
yeah.
friend of yours,
Wow.
whoever, wish them happy Diwali for me as well. Thank you.
Yeah, all the people around the world are celebrating this
Yep.
festival of lights, right? So yeah,
Yep.
it's yeah. And to tell the truth, right, it was a really bad day in the city. It was terrible. Traffic jams all over the place in Kuala Lumpur. So I'm not sure what's happening in where you are, right? So yeah, okay. Let's see what Peter says.
But
Eugene, Japan was the first year. Ange nearly get relegated and major cleanup, 15 players gone. Second year, he wins the cup, finishes eighth. Third year, he wins the league. Yep, and he goes to Celtic. Yep, I know. But the thing is that comparing the other leagues with the EPL, that could be a foul. I mean, it's a stretch, right? But to tell the truth, well, if he's still there, he's still there, right? But the point is now, Peter, right? How long can you take the performances that we've been putting out during the away games, right? Somehow or another, the home games, we look pretty good, right? Apart from the loss to Arsenal, we've actually won all our home games, right? Quite convincingly, beating Everton, a very, very bad Everton, right? Beating Brentford, right? Yeah, and of course, beating who was the last one? West Ham, right? Football is football, no matter where. Yep, I know football is football, no matter where. The ball is round, right? And of course, we don't play with square board in EPL. But the standards are there. The standards are there, right? You have to admit that, Peter, right? There are standards there. Right? Yep. 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 Rebuild means an up and down. Yep. Rebuild does mean up and down. So I understand.
Yeah,
Yep. But
I agree with this. I agree with this. I just want to add on to what Peter just said. Actually, if you look at the Japanese league, or if you look at even the Australian league, if I'm not mistaken, the Australian league has a salary cap, and I think a lot of fans sometimes say that yeah, winning a salary cap league is not an easy job. It shows purely a managerial capability of a manager. It shows the tactical ability of a manager. Purely, it has nothing to do with how much money you spend and all that. And it's good. Yes, I don't disagree with all those things. Yes, it to a certain extent. Yes, in those leagues, it's purely based on the talent of the team or the execution of how well a manager handles a team. However, you cannot use that to say that Ange will definitely win something later on in a league where the situation is very different. Like here, you do not have a salary cap. We do not have the situation as what we had he had in Australia or in Japan. He could be a good tactician. His football could be doing better, but we also need to understand that in Premier League you need quality in order to play that kind of football, whatever kind of football that you want to play. We even saw that with all our previous managers as well. We saw it with Conte, we saw it with Jose, we saw it even with Nuno, that if you don't give them the players that they need, they are actually not going to win the league, or they're not going to win anything. You saw with Jose, he wanted a couple of defenders, Levy didn't give him. When Nuno came in, he wanted Traore, he was not given that, and then he sort of had a dig at that as well. Conte, he wanted a couple of players as well. He wanted some defenders. He wanted Bastoni. We brought in Langley. So if you're not giving managers the tool to do what he needs to do, he's gonna fail actually in that way. It is not actually the Australian league or the Japanese league. That's why I would say, and I don't look down on those leagues. It's obvious that the competition level there is much different. There are no guarantees like what Peter is saying. But definitely what Ange has done so far is that he has been saying that he has been backed when we all know that he has not been backed. He has not been backed, and that raises a question on his capability as an overall. Like, what is he doing then? If he has been backed, then why isn't he putting up the performances that he should be putting? When the previous managers, when they were not back, they actually did slightly better than what Ange has done so far in this club. I mean, Conte, when he was not back,
I know.
his first
Yeah,
season, he took us to the Champions League.
yeah, I know. Conte came out with a statement recently also too about that, right? But the thing is that, okay, Peter, okay, if Ange gets sacked, then what? To tell the truth, I don't care whether Ange gets sacked or not gets sacked, because it doesn't matter. Another manager comes in, it still be Levy there, it will still go back to the same cycle over and over again, right? So to me, is that I'm not Ange out, I'm not Ange in, right? I'm Ange don't care because I'm Levy out. That's it. Flat out, Levy out, right? And of course, yeah, keep changing managers, and nothing will bring back Posh for 5 years. Yeah, I understand that too, right? He did win jack shit too. Yeah. So whoever comes
I agree with you, but I'm not saying that Ange must win things or he must start winning things already. I'm just saying that his performances so far are not there to convince us. Like, what's our league position right now? Eighth or ninth? Eighth or ninth, and all. And that performance is purely on him, by the way, because he has been there since the beginning of the season. You can't say that this is because of the previous manager. He has been there for now.
But in the end of the day, like what Peter says, let's see what happens here. That's true. We have to sit down and see what happens, Peter. And if Ange wins us a cup, right? Oh my God, right? I'll most probably buy a ticket and go to London and join the celebrations. I hope to see you there too, Peter, right? I hope to see you there too, right? If Ange wins us a cup, right? Big up to Mani. Let's get Mani's thoughts, right? Mani, did you actually watch this Palace Spurs game? I don't want to ask you that.
Sadly, because I don't of the games that were being played on a Sunday, I think that was the only one which wasn't televised. And I think my energies were being focused on the Arsenal-Liverpool game later on that day, and of course we will be discussing that. You know, I suppose maybe Crystal Palace have to be given some credit, because, you know, you have to consider that when Oliver Glasner came over there, he had that magnificent run succeeding Roy Hodgson, where he took them from, you know, the depths of a relegation battle to a very comfortable mid-table position. And when they thrashed the Champions League bound Aston Villa, who were, let's face it, under strength that day, I think it was to the tune of 5-0 at Selhurst Park, I was thinking to myself, this bloke has pedigree, he has a European trophy, and I do believe that he will take them onwards and upwards. So the start that they had to the season obviously was a very big surprise. I do believe that with Michael Olise joining Kane and Dyer at Bayern Munich, at Vincent's company, as it were, you know, maybe Palace was slightly weakened. But you also got the feeling that a win was, you know, around the corner. And it was just unfortunate that you lot happened to be in the way. I suppose it might be fair to say that you were probably a little bit subdued in your performance comparatively, although you did force Deanson into a few saves. But I think there's a wonderful comment which said, whenever there's a rebound, it's going to involve ups and downs. And I also want to make it crystal clear that if people are complaining about Ange and how things are at Spurs, count your blessings that you don't have Mikel Arteta. In his first full season with us, after that fluke of an FA Cup. Yeah, in his first full season with us, after fluking that FA Cup, it has to be said, he won that with Unai Emery's team and was very fortunate to have had one or two controversial decisions against Sheffield United. And of course, it was vintage Aubameyang who, you know, won us the semi and the final before Arteta started mismanaging him and then cutting away from the team for good. In his first full season, he had us as low as 15th. We were literally in a relegation battle. And had it not been for the now Fulham midfield, Emile Smith-Rowe, and his goals, we probably wouldn't have recovered to finish 8th that season. And we failed to secure European qualification, losing to Unai Emery's Villarreal in the semi-final, and they went on to win. And we still haven't yet won a trophy. And people take a look at us supposedly competing for the league, but at the same time, our record in the domestic...
You did win a trophy. You did win a trophy.
You did win the FA Cup. Apart from that, right? The FA Cup, you did win that FA Cup. I mean, of course, you haven't won the league yet.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Exactly, but if I can just say something, gentlemen. Yeah, you look at what Ange has done. Obviously, another comment was mentioned. I think, obviously, in his first season at his club in Japan, there was a lot of flux and didn't work out well. But in the second season, there was a trophy and an 8th place finish, and then he won the league, and then he went to Celtic. So you could see that progression, and it bore fruit. And so I get what you're saying, Elias, when you said that you cannot compare the J League to the Premier League, and every single league is different. But when you are given an opportunity to manage in a league, you make the best of what you possibly can get. And this is, of course, Ange's second season. And I suppose it's a sign of the heightened expectations that if Ange is unable to improve on that 5th place finish from the previous season, it will be seen as a failure. I still think that he is trying to do a lot of good things, and he is playing some good football. Some of the football that we're playing now under Arteta has been absolutely poor, to say the least, and we've been found out as being a rather one-dimensional sort of team. So, look, count your blessings that you don't have Mikel Arteta as your manager, because I tell you what, I don't believe that he'd be able to tackle the job with the same level of commitment and empathy that Ange is showing. And so, going back to the game, I think it was just a case where things couldn't quite go the way you wanted. And teams like yourself and even Aston Villa are going to have situations where no matter how hard you try, things just won't quite go your way.
Are you saying that Ange is a better manager than Arteta? Are you implying that?
In some ways, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Fair.
Okay, let me get back to some.
Now, I'm not saying that Ange is perfect. I'm saying Arteta's a horrible manager. Both of them have their good qualities and some bad qualities. Arteta's bad qualities just seem to be coming to the fore more often than not.
Yeah, well, we see a lot of that now, right? But okay, what Peter's saying, yeah, I've noticed that Ange absorbed all the sins of the players, right? Because he's taken full responsibility for all the actions of the players and all that. That's one thing I give him respect. When he came in, he changed the mood in the whole squad, the whole team, the whole club, right? But he said before, he'll die on the hill if things don't turn out right for him, right? And of course, unless someone comes in 4 billion for Levy, let's see how that happens, right? And of course, Mark Swift, big up Swifty, right? Thanks for being here, right? So I mean, okay. I think 2 or 3 shows ago when the Brighton game, we lost the Brighton game, right? I did the part was it the blip? You remember? I asked, right? Was it the blip, right? And now it comes out that in the Palace game, it's the same thing. Mani, have you not noticed this, right? When Spurs goes away to play, right? Apart from the Manchester United game where we smashed them 3-0 and we know Manchester was real bad and Ten Hag got sacked, right? I feel, right, there's a certain thing in our away games, right? It's like he's not so more attentive to it, and he lets it more or less laissez-faire kind of style, and whatever happens, And sometimes the statements that he comes in after the post-match show and the pre-match post-match interview, sometimes
they are crap, man. The kind of statements he comes with, I tell you, he annoys the shit out of me. I think he's getting paid to lie. If you look at it,
that's what I've been saying. He's a deflection and a distraction for Levy, right? That's why he's being paid to do the PR job for Levy while Levy is doing something in the back. I got a funny feeling there's a spidey tingling sensation, right? But all right, the Palace game is over, right? We'll get over it, right? There's another game coming up in a couple of, at least another, 3 or 4 hours time. There's another game coming up. But before we go to the preview of the games, right? Let's go to this game, right? I guess this game will be interesting because, Arsenal 2, Liverpool 2, right?
They bought the game.
Yeah. Mani will have a long rant on it, don't worry, right? For me, is that I've been seeing Arteta do this Jose Arteta thing, since Abby Summers call it paella pulis, right? So
Yeah, Eugene is lately friends with Don Robbie and Abby Summers.
no, not Don Robbie, just KG and what call I've been on some of DR sports shows. That's all, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's so weird that I'll go first, then Elias, and I'll give it to Mani last because most of you have a big rant on this, right? You guys go ahead and sit back and defend, concede, and go ahead again, sit back and defend, concede. So I don't understand because a lot of Arsenal fans were saying you should have just gone out and buried Liverpool, right, and gotten over with. But somehow or another, it ended up 2-2, right? So Elias, what's your thoughts on the Arsenal Liverpool game?
Yeah, I think in my opinion, Arsenal played better than they were playing the last 2 or 3 weeks. I think they played better. However, again, Arsenal's problem is when they are a little bit under pressure. So if you will see them struggling. So I think the same thing happened again. The moment Liverpool start applying that putting pressure on them towards the end of the game when they were supposed to, when they could have actually finished the job easily, they choked and they conceded the goal. And this game actually could have been an Arsenal 2-1 win. But yeah, we saw Liverpool came through in that game, and then it was a draw. But I mean, as a Spurs fan, I can't be happy with any other result. Yeah, fair play to Liverpool, and let's see. Who is Arsenal playing, by the way, this weekend? I don't know.
I'm not sure what's on the weekend, right? All I know is that they're good.
Oh, they are playing Newcastle. It's the first game. So that game would be an interesting one to see how do Arsenal now climb back. Their fans are still saying it's the season they're going to win the league. I don't think so.
Oh no, we haven't spoken to Mani yet, but Mani's dropped off. I think maybe there's some technical issues there. But never mind.
Did I say something wrong that made him
I don't think so. I don't think so. Right. But the truth, right? How we see the Arsenal doing is that this is the weird thing. Last season, when they were playing the way they were playing, right, it was very impressive. But this season, right, somehow or another, he turned into a Jose Mourinho kind of a manager. So that's the thing that surprised me a lot. You see, I never expected them to become like that. So, but it is what it is. That's how I see it. And to tell the truth, right, we were all saying, even Spurs fans were saying this, right? If Arsenal went out, right, in summer and got an actual, right, out and out striker, right, an actual number 9, right, Mani, welcome back, Mani. Everything okay, Mani? You dropped off? Can you hear me, Mani? Yeah. Let me see. I don't know. Maybe Mani's still having some technical problems. As we were saying, right? If Arsenal went out and bought an actual 9, a proper striker, it will be different. So I'm not sure. Maybe in January they'll do something, right? And of course, big up to Alex Scott experience, right? Yeah, is that what it is, man? Rastafari. Rastafari or Rastafari? Rastafari, right? But yeah, Mani, can you hear me? No, I think Mani is he's having some technical
Loud
problems.
and clear, sir. And again, I have this view where suddenly, for some reason, if I can't hear either of you, I will have to sort of refresh my screen because I don't want to have a situation where you're trying to ask me to speak and I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Ironically,
Mani.
2 streams ago, I did a few days ago, I did a stream. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mani. It's your
Yeah.
turn.
But okay. I mean, I did a stream a few days ago and it worked perfectly, but every now and then it happens like this. So, yeah, one thing which I will say is that in the prelude to this particular game, that game against Bournemouth, which I wanted to discuss with you on Thursday, but I couldn't because, last week, but I couldn't because I wasn't available. That was probably the worst game we ever played. And obviously our good friends at Up the Cherries in all departments were understandably very happy, and they had a right to be happy. And, that particular game saw William Saliba get sent off. So we literally had to rejig our entire defense for this game against Liverpool, including playing Thomas Partey at right back, shifting Ben White into the centre. I mean, Ben White is an abysmal centre back, but, that Sunday he performed okay. And, we started brilliantly with Bukayo Saka running down the wing and literally, cooking Andrew Robertson like some fresh square sausage or some haggis. And that goal he scored was wonderful. But defensively, again, we were found wanting for Virgil van Dijk's equaliser. Even defensively as well, Liverpool were found wanting for when Mikel Merino scored, and we were still doing quite well. I think what happened was, in the second half, we started to become a little bit defensive again. That's a big problem with Arteta. I guess you can say that we was feeling the effects of a few injuries, because now we're in a situation where Ayesh and Timber also might possibly be doubtful for this upcoming weekend game. I don't think they'll play tonight against Preston. They shouldn't play tonight. I don't know if William Saliba will be available. Hopefully he will be, but we will find out and see. And
how many
again, it was a question of Arteta having to bring on some people from the.
Yeah, Mani, how many match bans does Saliba have? I think it's 3, right?
Yeah, I mean we were. Yeah, if it is 3, then he will obviously miss tonight's game, and obviously he will miss the weekend's game against Newcastle at St James's Park.
He's not missing the game against Newcastle, as far as I have checked, because it was not.
No, but it is 3 bans, right? It will be the Liverpool game, the Preston game, and the Newcastle game.
It was just one game only, the new Liverpool game only. That's it.
So it's just 1 game ban.
It's a 1 game ban. Yeah, he's back.
I think maybe
yes, he's back.
Maybe there was a mitigating circumstance. Maybe there was a mitigating circumstance in that William Saliba's actions were not really, reckless and violent. I'd like to think that, for extreme violent conduct, you could get a 3-game ban, but maybe we'll have to see. But again, we started losing players to injury. We already don't have Ricardo Calafiori, and again, he had to rejig the bench, bring on a few people. Some of them did well, others didn't. And then, defensively, again, we were found wanting, and Mohamed Salah equalised. And that is the problem with Arteta, because as you said, Elias, he does start to get a little bit too defensive at times. And, he very, very rarely, if ever, tries to, put the full throttle on. That'll probably be only against, the smaller teams where we're expected to, win. Obviously, we beat Southampton 3-1. I mean, the Leicester game was an absolute abomination. We had to depend on an own goal to give us the go-ahead. But this could be another example of how, because of Arteta's own timidity, for want of a nicer word, we bottled it against Manchester City at the Etihad, and we bottled it against Liverpool at the Emirates. And we're now 5 points behind them, equal with Aston Villa, who drew against Bournemouth. And so it'll be interesting to see how we go about our next games. I am confident of a good performance against Newcastle, because they're also going through a bit of a slump right now. But then, as long as they've got Alexander Isak in their team, you just know that they're going to be a threat for our makeshift defense. And I wonder how we're going to line up. And, it was just disappointing more than anything else. And a lot of people are going to try to, calm it down. They're going to try to say, if you had told us that we'd be drawing against Liverpool, we would have taken that. And even some Liverpool fans were saying, because it's Arsenal at the Emirates, they wouldn't have minded a draw themselves. But I think it is fair to say that that was a game where both sides felt as though they should have had more than they ended up getting. And, these are the types of games that we need to win. We can't just, give ourselves a consolation, a self-congratulatory pat on the back and say, we're still in this. These are the games that we will look back on and say, we should have done more. And last season it was home to Aston Villa. Unai Emery ended up, pulling our trousers and our underpants down, and we ended up getting humiliated. We all know what happens from there. So what happens now is going to be a test. And for what it's worth, we do have Preston tonight, but we will have to play either David Raya or Tommy Setford, because Neto, who we got on loan from Bournemouth, is actually cup-tied. Well done to the Arsenal recruitment for that. And when you have such incompetence at the top, at the board level, it's filtering through to the club, and even the manager himself is no great shakes. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you put Mikel Arteta in charge of the Japanese team that Ange managed back there. And the reason why I say this is because I know people are going to accuse me of just wanting to have a go at him, but we still haven't won a trophy. And you also have to put the league second places against the backdrop of poor returns from Europe and from the domestic cups. And I just think that if people are going to ask us to be patient with Arteta, especially some Spurs fans I know, the very least I should ask is that you give Ange a little bit more in terms of patience and understanding. And I do like Ange Postecoglou. And one of the things on which I think you can both agree on is that he is able to adapt. He is able to start a little bit more defensive. Players are letting him down.
Right, no, the thing is that, right, for Ange, right, Manny, would you take him at Arsenal? Then I'll give you a question.
Oh, he will. He will. I think he will.
Can you hear me, Manny?
I'd like him to get a little bit more experience managing a top club, and then I'd take him.
Okay, so we will be the guinea pig before you take him then. Oh, that's a good one. But okay, I'm going to say this, right, because
well, you were the guinea pig for Solskjaer, Jeremiah Campbell.
Yeah. But the thing is that what Alex was saying, right, the fouls against us and all that, right. Crystal Palace came out and actually disrupted our game, right? That was their game plan, right? Being physical and all that, and maybe the ref was on their side, right? Alex is also saying there was about 17 fouls before they got their first yellow card. Yeah, it is what it is. But the game was in that kind of a mode, right? And if your players couldn't step up and be more physical and fend off that physicality from the opposition and do something about it, be smart about it, then the quality of the players are not there, and maybe the manager sees that, and it is what it is. Right, that's all I can say, right? And of course, Mark Swift says, yeah, that could be a fun time, right? And of course, what he's saying is that there's no way Arsenal is going to take such a careless manager as Spurs. From Spurs, you mean? Yeah, from Spurs.
And that's why, Alex, I said let him get more experience managing a top, to really improve his CV, and then I'd say get him in, because when we got Arteta, his experience was nil, zilch, and we still haven't won anything apart from that fluked FA Cup. Make of that what you will.
But Manny, it doesn't matter whether it's a fluke or not a fluke, right? I mean, if you've given me an FA Cup 2 seasons ago, right? Or to tell the truth, last season we won an FA Cup, right? All this Ange out thing wouldn't be. We wouldn't be talking about Ange out. You understand? We'll be demanding that Levy builds a statue for him in the stadium grounds, right? But yeah, Alex Scott says hiring Ange is like hiring a bucket with a hole in it. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, with the high line, there's a lot of holes, right? But okay, we'll go past this Arsenal game, right? Okay, Manny, I've got another weird question for you, right? I remember a few seasons back while you guys were on the way up again after Arteta and his rebuild after the 8-8, right, and all that. What I saw is that, right, you went out against the bigger teams, right? You pulled off fantastic wins. But whenever you played a lower team, right? Like what happened at Bournemouth, you get what I'm saying? Somehow or other beat all the big teams and you lose to all the mid-table teams and maybe even the relegation battle teams, you see. So do you feel that trend is going to come back to you guys?
Well, if it does, then that really is an indictment on the manager and the team. And it's complacency more than anything else. And I kept telling you, Eugene, that it's always going to be, some of these games where you think you can win and you believe you can win, but because of your complacency, you end up losing. The Aston Villa game last year was a big example, and we've had some even worse reverses against some pretty from lower placed teams. I remember, when Sean Dyche came to Everton replacing Frank Lampard, his first game was against us at Goodison, and he beat us 1-0. So yeah, it's that level of complacency that really comes back to hurt us more often than not. And we always seem to be willing to take one step forward, but at least one back. That's what really hurts us more than anything else. And this coming game against Newcastle, if we're complacent and we're not careful, we could be in for a horrible day, because Newcastle might be in a little bit of a slump in form right now. Going to St. James's Park, as you both can testify, is never ever easy. So
Yeah,
we literally have to make sure that we are more careful and responsible.
no, but then okay, when you talk about complacency, right? Before we go to the Carabao Cup game that you were playing against Preston, that one should be a walk in the park for you guys, right? But you talk about complacency, right? What about Spurs? 2-0 up at Brighton, second half come out and be complacent. You get what I'm saying? At Crystal Palace last week, wasn't that complacent too? Right? The way we played, we kept giving the. If you watch that game, right, Mani, if I remember I've done watch alongs with you and Scott M and all that, and we keep shouting at the players, right? Why are you giving the ball away? Why are you giving the ball away? We were doing the same thing again against Palace. We just gave them the ball. Keep giving them back the balls. So, but it is what it is, right? But like I say, we're all human.
Yeah, Eugene, don't get me wrong. I watched the Brighton game. I watched, how, your players literally frittered away that 2-0 lead and allowed Hertzler's team to come back and win 3-2. And obviously, one sickening sight was that Arsenal striker Danny Welbeck scoring one of those goals. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, in as much as, Spurs fans and Arsenal fans may not necessarily like each other, thank God you and I are, exceptions to the rule. There's more actually that connects us and unites us really than divides us. We have similar issues with regard to, player performances and, where managers are able to get best out of the player, the type of style of play. I think when we have a style of play, we are quite good. But the problem is we're pretty much found out. And whenever, people talk about Arteta's need to try and, change his style, he ends up becoming ultra defensive. If he's not, trying to have some non-specialist wing back coming in and inverting into the midfield and trying to pack that up, he's shutting up shop and being ultra defensive. And, we just weren't able to make it happen against Manchester City at the Etihad. But even in your case as well, I think it was a failure in many ways for the players. And also Ange will have to carry the can for that. I'm not saying otherwise. What I'm saying as well is I'd like to think that with the style of play that you have been able to produce more often than not this season, you are doing quite well. But you have to make sure that you don't make those mistakes. And you and I can both agree that as long as you've got Christian Romero in that defense, for quite some time, I'm talking about how well he's improved and how he's become a better defender. But when you have him in your tier in that defense, you just know that there's going to be a bozo moment. And even Destiny Udogie was also found wanting against Brighton. Why wasn't he taken off and someone else brought on not too long after that? And that is where Ange also has to improve. I'm not saying that Ange is a perfect manager by any means. Both Ange and Arteta have issues where rather than being proactive in trying to change the game, they're both reactive. And that's where you see sometimes, people cancelling each other out. Arteta has been at the job at Arsenal much longer than Ange has been at Spurs. So Ange can be given a little bit of leeway. But people want to give Arteta a lot more leeway, saying that, he's inexperienced and is doing great, but they also say that he will have some poor moments. You can't try to the penny. And so I'm not denying that Spurs have some issues and they have to work on that, but we've also got some issues too, as seen in some of our recent performances. You take our European performances. You had a difficult time against AZ Alkmaar, but at least you scored your goal, as I told you. We had to rely on an own goal to get past Shakhtar Donetsk. How anatomically weak are they? And if David Raya hadn't have pulled off that save, they would have equalized, for heaven's sake. So we still have some problems, and we aren't this high-flying team that people think we are. And unless we address those problems, we're also going to find it difficult this season.
Yep, I understand. Alex got experience, right? Romero once out of this club, I can see that he's lost his interest in the style of play. It's madness. I've got a theory on this, right, Alex? When the fireworks are starting, I guess. Diwali is being celebrated soon. We got a lot of fireworks sounds coming up, right? Guys, it's a very simple thing now, right? When Ange came out with that statement, right? Attacking is good, right? And he's comfortable in conceding goals, right? I think that must have pissed Romero off, which top class defender, right, will sit there and say that I will accept conceding goals? So I guess the way I'm seeing this now, right, Romero has lost his will to play for Spurs, number one, right? Maybe he's just, switched off. Maybe he's just waiting to move off to Real Madrid or Barcelona or something like that. And the worst part is, right, I'm seeing the regression of VDV. That's the thing that scares me. You see, that's the thing that scares me, right? And Alex Scott says that Arteta is much better defensive manager than Ange. Of course, we all can see that, right? If one doesn't have a solid foundation in the house, yep, he'll fall. That's why I said defense has to be there. But the thing is that the crazy high line again has got a problem there, right? Exactly, right? Embarrassing, right? For defenders to conceding 60 goals per season. That's why defenders have pride too, right? I believe the defenders have pride in keeping a clean sheet. The thing is that if Vicario, Romero, VDV are so willing to concede goals, right? I don't know what to say. That's why I came up with this equation. Attacking is good. Conceding comfortable equals losers. That's all. That's the equation for me, right? But we'll move on from there. Mani, Preston Arsenal. Will you be putting out a youth team out there against Preston?
Well, as I've said, we have a choice between having to play either our first choice in David Raya or the much younger Tommy Setford. And bear in mind that in the previous round against Bolton, we had to play Jackie Porter, the 16-year-old, because both Raya and Setford were unavailable due to injury. Neto, of course, was cup-tied. And against Bolton, we had about 6 first-teamers in that team. I'd like to think that, it will be, somewhat more streamlined. We're going to see the likes of Nwaneri and Lewis Skelly starting, and maybe the likes of Jorginho and Zinchenko and a few other, second-teamers or fringe players coming into the action to get some minutes under their belt. And I would go so far to say that this, again, has to be a game that we should win, and win fairly convincingly. And it's a type of game where it demands that the second teamers stand up and make themselves counted. I remember listening to, a podcast where I think it might have been my friend Kenny Ken or another person who said, it's not going to be the first 11 that will win you a league or a title or a cup. It's your second string players that will win. Your second string players have to have the ambition to, do really well and the quality to make sure that they, succeed, even given their chances, and make life difficult for the manager. And we just don't have that really amongst our second string players. We've loaned out quite a few of them. We've sold some of them. Why Crystal Palace saw it fit to part with 30 million quid for Edward and Nketiah, I will never know. Still hasn't. But Fulham buying Emile Smith-Rowe from us was a smart piece of business. He's got a new lease of life, and I am happy for him. And, again, going back to your question, I don't think it'll necessarily be a youth team, but he has to, the players that he's selected are going to have to make sure they stand up and make themselves counted, especially given the opposition. And it's interesting to hear Alex saying, the bench has always lacked the quality under Levy to come off the bench and change things. I mean, there were exceptions to the rule, Lucas Moura for one. And even now, there are 1 or 2 players who can be trusted to come off the bench and leave an impact. We still need to see a lot more from Jed Spence, in my opinion. I think Destiny Udogie, for one, is one player who has some moments where, when he's under pressure, he often folds a pack of cards. And maybe, you two can agree with me on this. He was, at fault for at least 2 of the goals you conceded against Brighton, I think. So whenever Spence has come on, he's looked pretty good quality. Give him some more minutes. You've also, a manager has to trust his, bench players. The manager has to really make that they are quality and they are important, and that they will get some more chances. And that does fall on the manager to make sure that he can do that. If a manager, just cuts players adrift, players are not going to want to play for that particular manager. And, I'm counting my blessings that we've got Preston, because you lot have a very tricky tie. I think it's fair to say that, given the way things have gone in previous seasons, you are no longer a team.
Yeah. Well, we'll come to that. We'll come to that. Right. Elias, Preston Arsenal. What are your thoughts?
Easy win for Arsenal, I would say, but Preston can be a challenging one. And I think we have seen in the past as well that Arsenal has had some times where they crashed out of certain teams which were not doing very well, or they were actually in the championship. There was one season you guys lost to Nottingham Forest when they were in championship. There was another season. Which team you guys lost to last season in the Carabao Cup? Money.
I don't quite remember, to be honest.
Yeah, but
it was a long time ago. I'll look that up.
The points.
I'll look that up.
Yeah, the point still stands that I think in cup competitions, since that FA Cup win as well, Arteta has not shown much improvement. He has not been a decent manager when it comes to the cups overall as well. If you look at the past,
but Elias, it could be just Arteta not paying interest into the cups. You know, he's paying more interest in the league.
That's one thing I feel that he feels as well, because Arsenal fans, they have a special connection with the league title when they were invincibles and all that. I personally feel that there's a portion of Arsenal fans who don't care a lot about the cup competitions. And Mane isn't one of them, by the way. I know that for sure as well. So that's why he could be now feeling the pressure to win the league more than the cups or Champions League. I think his focus is more on Champions League and winning Premier League. He may not be too focused on the cups because he has already won one. He already has the FA Cup, and winning the cup doesn't add much more value to his CV, I would say. So yeah, he may be perceiving it that way. So yeah, I think 2-1 to Preston. Sorry, not 2-1 to Preston. 2-1 to Arsenal. But it could be a 1-0 draw, 1-1 draw, and then Preston going through in the penalties. Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, I've got an announcement to make. I've just rebranded while we were talking. I just rebranded my channel to Soccer Talk TV, so it would no longer be Step Up Spurs, and I'll be talking a lot of neutral football stuff with all the other channels and stuff like that on there. So
that's when you decide to start doing YouTube again. Okay, that's when you start doing your channel again. But
it was just a random thought.
Yeah, let me explain to you. Mane is a Arsenal fan, right? But sometimes when you see him on the Chelsea channel, right? I think Mane, because
I think it's Coach Hanno's channel.
Yeah, he's doing Hanno's channel for him or something like that, right? Just Alex Scott thinks you're a Chelsea fan, but no, Mane's an Arsenal fan, right? Mane's an Arsenal fan. And I'll come back to this one, right? When you talk about Lucas Moura, yes, apart from that 1 or 2 games that he was brilliant, right? Yeah, he used to run the ball in the dead ends. Yes, Lucas Moura. But you must give Lucas Moura this thing, you know. He was 5'7", right? And he was our best header of the ball, apart from Harry Kane. Think about that.
I'm 5'8", I think. Yeah,
5'8", 5'7". Yeah, 5'8", 5'7", and he was the best header of our ball, apart from Harry Kane. So try to deduce that, right? So that's the weird thing, right? Yeah, we used to, yeah, that's true. Right, Mani, your score predictions?
I'm confident enough to predict a 3-1 win. I wouldn't be surprised if we score more goals, but a 3-1 win is the bare minimum. And Elias, to answer, last season we had West Ham in the league to them at the Berlin ground. We in the previous campaign we lost to Brighton at home. That was in the 3rd round. Under our term Teta with Ramsdale in goal, I think in 2022 we reached the semis. But simply put, our record under Arteta hasn't been that good. And yeah, I get what you're saying now about Lucas Moura. I understand that he really only had one big game. And then, yeah, but then that's the thing. I mean, sometimes you have to identify talent on the bench and make sure that the opportunities that they need. You still have to make them feel as though they are a part of the part of the manager's plans.
That's true. Right. So for me, I think the my prediction for the scoreline is going to be simple. Whatever how you're going to see it, right? Even if it's a weaker team, I'll give Arsenal a easy 2-0 win for them tonight, right? Arsenal easy 2-0 win. But of course, we have to come to this one, right? Spurs is at home in the Carabao Cup against M City, right? Manny, your thoughts on this?
Ooh, Spurs against City. I think I pretty much segued into that when I said that you are no longer City's bogey team. And I am not going to, be one of those Arsenal fans who will abuse Spurs for not trying to go all out to win, because you did play well. City were just better that game. And shame on those Arsenal fans who saw it fit to try and, pander to Spurs by saying, we'll support you, and if you help us, we'll remember you. But listen, had you won and we won the league, there's no way that our fans would have even remembered. But this will be interesting. And a lot of talk this season, mind you, has been about how, in the absence of the recently crowned Ballon d'Or winner, City have started to struggle in midfield. And even after bringing back Ilkay Gundogan, I think sort of miss a player of Rodri's quality, his, what he lends to the team. And so they've had to try to plug that gap in several ways, whether it was trying to play Matheus Nunes in that role, pair maybe Kovacic and Gundogan, or even, have someone like a Johnny Stones come into that role. And City's results, they're top of the league, but their performances have not been convincing. And here's the wonderful thing about, Spurs and cup competition, for as long as I've, known them. Spurs have this knack, mind you, of being able to really, really turn up in cup matches against some big teams.
Really?
And I meant what I said when I said that you were no longer City's team. I'm going to predict that maybe City will just edge this one. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if you do somehow manage to nick it. But again, it will depend on the team you select. You will remember, both of you, obviously you couldn't have seen that game against Alkmaar because you said it was a bit too late for you both.
I watched it.
But
I watched the game. Yeah.
It was a somewhat... you did? I wish you had done a watch-along. I would have come and joined you.
But I will do a watch-along at 4 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning. It's too stressful for me. But I do watch the games at night. But, if it was the 12:45 game, right, in Malaysian time, the evening game, or I mean the afternoon game, then I will do a watch along like the one I did before. But the thing is that yeah. What are your thoughts, right? With Arteta, I mean with Arteta, with Guardiola, with Pep saying he's going to rest players, right? That's the one part.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing. Even if Pep does rest a few players,
Pep
you know that the team will more a reasonably.
Sorry, Pep didn't say he want to rest his place. In fact, he came up with a statement that he is not going to take Tottenham lightly. He said that he won't be resting players. Yeah.
All right. I thought he was going to rest players, but okay. Sorry, Manny.
But I mean, obviously, slight reflection, because obviously there's no way that he's going to afford to, continue to play some of the big players, knowing that they may have a big game in the weekend. And given that they're only top by a point from Liverpool, thanks to that 2-2 draw between us and Liverpool, I don't think he's now in a situation where he can't afford any slip-ups in the league. But he will put out a good team. But obviously there will be some of the players who will need a little bit more in terms of minutes, likes of your Ortegas and maybe your Grealishes and a few others. I don't know if Grealish is still injured, or maybe he's I think he should be fine. I don't know. But as I was saying, Spurs have this knack of being able to pull out some really good performances in cup competitions. And I remember watching their run to the 1991 FA Cup back in the day. I'm sure you remember that fondly, Eugene. Elias, that would have been a bit before your time, of course.
But Manny, you must remember, that was all pre-inning. You're talking about the modern era now. We've only won one League Cup in 2008. We've been shit in cups, right? Ever since Levy took charge, right? We've been shit in cups.
Yeah.
You know why? The proof was there, right? Mourinho brought us to the final He sacks in 6 to 5 days before the final because of a disagreement that he wanted to play a weekend team against us, Southampton, right? So we ain't a cup team anymore. The cup team dream, right, left 24 years ago, Manny, to tell the truth. It's way back history now, right? That's the sorry part about being
I
Spurs
suppose
fans.
you have a point. I suppose you have a point that maybe, I mean, you can still pull off an occasional performance, but maybe you just haven't been able to quite get it over in terms of winning trophies. But
No,
look, when was the last time you won a League Cup?
well, you at least you won an FA Cup 3 or 4 years ago, right?
True.
Yeah, so you can't compare with us. To tell the truth, right? Even Poch, when during the Poch era, we reached a semi-finals, right? All of a sudden, everything switches off, right? The only thing was the Champions League final where we got there, right? To tell you the truth, right? Harry Kane shouldn't have played. We should have kept.
I agree.
Right? And somehow or another, I think it was a Daniel Levy thing to push Harry Kane in because the England thing and all the bullshit, and that cost us. And of course, the referee cost us with that stupid handball thing that Sissoko gave away and all that. But it is what it is. We are no more a cup team, Manny. Spurs fans have to admit it. We are no more a cup team. We are just I don't even want to say it anymore. We are top 6.
Okay. I will accept that. I will accept that now. But again, you still have the ability to every now and then put out a good a fine performance against a team in the cup competitions. We've been lacking that inspiration as well ever since that FA Cup win. But I still think City will end up edging this, probably because we can agree that they have a better squad. And even if Guardiola does put out a somewhat weakened team from his usual team, they will still be strong, too strong for most teams remaining in the competition. And I think all of the lower division teams are being eliminated. It's probably going to be an all Premiership quarterfinal lineup. We'll have to see. But I think given the way your squad is, and I was actually coming to that, against Alkmaar, you had a somewhat rejigged team, the likes of Forster in goal, among others. I think Richarlison was starting. Yeah. And that whole penalty fluffle shouldn't have happened. Sometimes you have to, as a player, I don't think you can afford to be that selfish, because if Richarlison had missed, he would literally have been never forgiven for that.
Oh,
but he took the penalty, goal, right? He scored, and you ground out that 1-0 win.
Yeah, but if Richarlison had missed that goal, right, most probably he was sold in January. Oh, Levy is draining every drop of testosterone out of
rightly so.
Yeah, no, Alex, it's just not the fans. He's drained the testosterone out of the players too, and the manager. Right, that's where we are now, right? That's where we are, right? So it is what it is. But okay, Elias, your thoughts,
the
right?
You were saying always rots from the head down, as we.
Yeah, the fish always rots from the head down. Elias, you were saying Pep is not going to play a weakened team, right? Your thoughts on this game?
I don't think Pep will play a weaker team. Given okay, there are some deluded Spurs fans going around saying that we are gonna win actually 4-1. I don't really think so. If you know, you know. I think if we win, we will win probably 2-1, 1-0, 3-2, that kind of score line. I really don't know
1-0, Elias, you know that.
Yeah. I think it okay. I will go for 2-1 Spurs because I think our home record against City is not bad. So 2-1 Spurs, I'll go for that.
Okay, 2-1 Spurs. Okay, Manny, your prediction?
I think I'll go for a 2-1 City win. Okay. I just think that City will somehow, find a way to get the result they need. I'd like to see you putting it in a performance, but the problem is over here in my neck of the woods, I'm not getting coverage of the EFL Cup. It's Premiership, Champions League, and FA Cup.
Yeah, I think in Malaysia we don't get it too, Manny. My service provider isn't giving the EFL Cup, the Carabao Cup too. So I don't know. We most probably look for a dodgy stream or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah. And you have to be careful. Don't mention that. Otherwise, this stream could very well be subject to some sort of, jurisdiction issues. I'm not too sure. There are some
I'm not
things you cannot
monetized.
say in public, sir.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm not monetized and all that. Why are you going to close my show down because of that? Nah, it won't happen. But for me, it's right. What I feel is that it doesn't matter what Pep puts out there. I don't think we have the quality to deal with it, right? The way what happened at Palace, right? Unless, right, there's a whole scheme of thing going on that we lose to Palace and then we come out and beat M City, right? I've got a very big conspiracy theory behind it, right? Which I did say live, right, on Hotspur Hood about a couple of hours ago, right? Go back and watch it from Hotspur Hood, what I said about certain things about that's happening, right? Spurs are being involved in, right? But the thing is, what I'm saying is that if City does put out a weakened team, we might have a good chance. But to tell the truth, right, guys, what I see, if we put out a strong team, and even if we put out our first team against City's second team, right, we will still lose, right? But me being a Spurs fan, I'll still say we lose, right? I think City will win 2-0. That's all. Yeah, I'll go there. But guys, I'll have to wrap it up early because it's been a long day for me. I'll just go around to have some thoughts because Arsenal's playing Newcastle away, if I'm not mistaken, right, Manny?
Yes, that's right.
All right. We are playing Aston Villa at home, if I'm not mistaken, right? So I'll go to Elias. So Elias, Aston Villa at home. What are your thoughts? And then maybe give us a prediction for the Aston Villa game and the Newcastle game against Arsenal.
Aston Villa game against Spurs. Is Spurs away or at home?
Home.
I would say 3-1 Spurs.
Seriously? All right, 3-1 to Spurs, man.
I think our home record has been decent, so I think we can make that game. Yeah, 3-1 Spurs.
All right. The Newcastle Arsenal game? Elias?
Newcastle Arsenal game. 2-1 Newcastle.
2-1 Newcastle. All right. Mani, your thoughts? Spurs, Aston Villa, Spurs at home. We have a good record at home, apart from losing to you guys. Ange adapts and Ange does proper things when we're at home. What are your thoughts?
Well, I do seem to remember last season in this corresponding fixture, Aston Villa did win 2-1. Some pretty poor defensive work from Aston Villa. I think you lot scored first, but then Villa found their way back. And then, of course, Martinez made a couple of fine saves and ended up edging that. Now, I think another reason why Elias might be so confident is because when Aston Villa played Bournemouth, they had so many chances. They should have wrapped the game up in many ways. And Mark Travers ended up, turning into prime Mark Schwarzer with the saves that he was making. And Aston Villa seem to have this tendency in that whenever they also decide to try and shut up shop, but because their defense isn't really as good as that of another top team in the league, they're just not capable of that. And when Evan Nilsson scored with what was the last kick of the game, it was literally a kick in the teeth. Just as well that it didn't really cost Aston Villa that much, because for what it's worth, they're still equal on points with us in the league, just below us on goal difference. But I think Emery will probably have done some work on that. And what's going to happen tonight as they take on Crystal Palace is that he's going to run the rule over some of his fringe players as well. And he will probably try and select a team that can take advantage of some of the problems that may exist in your defense. So I absolutely admire Unai Emery for the job he's done so far. I feel he was very shabbily treated at Arsenal, horribly disrespected, and it's great to see him taking charge of this team as they're flying high in the Champions League and also doing their bit to, balance both of those responsibilities, although they haven't really played too many top teams as of yet. And I do believe that as good as your home record has been this season, there will be a reverse, and this will probably be one of them. But it's going to be a tough game, and I think it'll be 2-1 Aston Villa, a repeat of the corresponding fixture.
And
as far as Newcastle and Arsenal are concerned, That's what I'm saying. The Newcastle Arsenal game. Newcastle are in a slump, as I've said. I don't think they've won in quite some time. Plenty of questions over Nick Pope now arising. And the only reason why Martin Dubravka isn't playing is because the poor chap's injured and he can't even make the matchday squad. And as long as they have Alexander Isak, as I've said, they're always going to be a bit of a threat. But they do seem to have some other problems of their own in the defense. And I think maybe people are starting to find out Dan Burn for the type of defender he is. This is a game where we should look to dominate their midfield, even though they may have Guimaraes still in that. We still need to make sure that we dominate their midfield and not really give them any kind of an inch. And if we can do that, then we should get the result that we need. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Arsenal win, and hopefully we'll get it together. But I think there's a reason why Elias has said that Newcastle might beat us. He probably thinks that our defense is a little bit too rickety right now with all of those injuries and suspensions.
Maybe. Right. Destiny 5. Yeah, big up to you. Yeah, hope you enjoy the game in the stadium. Right, since you're going for it. Yeah. All right. Have a good trip. Enjoy yourself there. Right. As for me, the Aston Villa Spurs game. Oh dear. I fear that they're gonna smack us, but like what Elias been saying, right? Ange has been doing his thing properly at home, right? Because he doesn't want the home fans to actually, jump on his back if we do lose badly to Aston Villa. But for what I can see is that maybe I'll come very straight out, right? If we are lucky, it will be a 2-2 Spurs draw. If we are not, we're going to lose 2-1, 3-1. I see that, right? As for the Arsenal and Newcastle Arsenal game, I'm just going to be straight up 2-2. That's going to be the scoreline for that game, right? But guys, thanks for being on. Destiny 5, Alex Scott Experience. Who else we have? Mark Swift, Swifty, big up, Swifty, one of the OGs, right? And Soccer Talks TV, right? That's Elias news channel. Please go on, subscribe to it, right?
It's the old channel with a new name.
Yeah. Old channel with new name. Yeah, just as long he makes content, right? That's the most important thing, right? Like Scott Experience. Who else do we have here? I guess that's more or less it's it. Mark Swift, right? And Peter Gares. Yeah. I think Peter Gares has gone back to sleep, right? What time is it? I think it's about 3 a.m. in Melbourne, right? Thanks for all you guys for being here, right? Thanks for your support, right? And of course, Ryan, Huddersfield Town fan, right, guys? I'll catch up with you next time. Take care. Let's hope we get a good result tonight, right? Yeah, against Manchester City.